All right, everybody, we're back. We just completed generating the existing conditions for all for our apartment plan, our apartment project. So again, everyone's got the same conditions for the apartment. What you're going to do that's different is you get to design the apartment the way that you want to. Um, so there you go. And one of the things that we need to pay attention to is I noticed some of you have this issue showing up in some of the next steps. So we're sort of going to preemptively address this. So I've opened my layers manager and I want to look down the list over here. I want to make sure every single one of these little icons, which is immediately to the right of the plot icon, I want to make sure that every one of those layers is yellow. It's the white rectangle with the yellow corner. The difference is that's what it looks like when it's blue. I don't want to see blue. That can actually it's going to cause some problems in the next step if we don't address it. And there's another problem that we ran into. This layer G-VPRT, that's your viewport layer. Make sure there's that little red international no symbol by the plot. If it looks like this, it's not right. If it looks like this, you got it right. Okay. Anything that's off in this file, you might want to double check and go back and correct all your layers in your template. Okay, there we go. So I know my template is set up correctly, so I'm going to highlight everything. I'm going to change. I'll change it when I get there. So we're going to embark on setting up our page layout. What we've done now is we've just drawn stuff. What we don't have is a relationship to what these objects will look like on the paper when we print it. We're about to get into that. So what we do here is down at the bottom left-hand corner, you're going to see model. This is your model space. This is where all your line work and your graphics go. Okay, if we're currently drawing at 1/4 inch equals a foot. What I want to do now is I want to click on Layout 1. This is what's called Paperspace. This is actually where you set up that relationship of where you want the graphics positioned on the sheet. Now the default is an 8.5 by 11 inch 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. We want to change the settings. We want to change all this stuff. And now if you look here and it's all blank, that's because you didn't pay attention earlier when I said look at your layers, look at all your layers, and make sure that none of this little bit over here is yellow. Because now that we're in paper space instead of just model space, we have some additional things to play with, and things can get wonky really fast. So I'm going to collapse that out for right now. So hopefully all the items, you've got the little blue icon there instead of the yellow one. Strike that. You want the yellow icon, not the blue one. Okay, the absolute first thing I want to do is I want to change my paper size, and I want to assign the layers to properly print. To do that, I come down to where it says Layout 1. I will right-click. I will come to Page Setup Manager. Now, these are the layouts, the layout options that I have available to me. So right now it just says Layout 1. I'm going to come down and click Modify. Okay, now the printer name I'm going to use. This is which printer are you going to use? I want AutoCAD PDF General Documentation. Okay, the reason that I'm doing this, there's some other options here. I mean, you can actually print to a JPEG or an image file. Here's the DWG to PDF, which is actually pretty similar to AutoCAD PDF. This is just an older version that's around for legacy purposes. DWF. DWF was AutoCAD's attempt to make an alternative to PDF. It really didn't work. I like creating a PDF of things because then you can send a copy of this file to anybody else. They don't have to have an AutoCAD to open it and see what's involved. You can print it full size, you can print it half size, all that fun stuff. Right now, for this class, we're going to make a PDF. So Click on AutoCAD PDF General Documentation. And I'm going to change this option from ANSI Full Bleed A. I'm going to scroll up just a little bit. I want ANSI Full Bleed B, and there's two options, 11 by 17 or 17 by 11. I want 17 by 11 because that sets up the page here to be in landscape. If I look at the other one, Full Bleed 11 by 17, you can see this preview is, this is portrait mode, but this is set to landscape and it's going to print sideways. I don't want my stuff to print sideways. Well, I want it to print horizontal like this. I'm going to plot the layout. We can actually change this. We can print only the stuff that's visible on the screen, no matter how much you're zoomed in or no matter how much you're zoomed out. This doesn't always give you the results that you want. I can print the drawing extents. So if you have something that's in outer space, so to speak, if you've got a line, a stray line that's 5,000 feet away from your floor plan, that's going to change the extents of your drawing, and you might not print what you actually want to see. You can print by a window, which will let you window in just a particular area that you want to print, or you can print layout, which means I'm going to hold in reserve the size and the shape of an 11 by 17 piece of paper, and it's up to you, the user, to position stuff on the page the way that you want it positioned. This is what I want, layout. Our plot scale, 99 times out of 100, it's going to be scale of 1:1. If it's not scale of 1:1, something is weird. Now, those of you who may, well, I'll get to that in a second. I got distracted. I'm going to come over here, plot style table. This is what controls the color of the lines when they're printed. They can be all kinds of different colors on screen. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to select monochrome. This is what I want. Monochrome. All the colors are going to print as black. Done. That's all I need to worry about. My plot options. I can plot my object line weights. Yes, my object line weights are down here in the bottom. I want to see my line weights. Plot transparency. We're not using transparency right now, so I'm going to leave this off. It doesn't hurt anything if you turn it on, but it does present some additional options that we'd have to configure. Plot with plot styles. That means, do I pay attention to this or not? Yes, I do. Plot Paperspace last. Again, 9 times out of 10, it will not cause a problem if you uncheck it, but weird things can happen, so just leave it checked. Everything else stays the same. Click OK and click Close. Now you can see the proportions of this has changed, and that's perfectly okay. We want the proportions of this to change. This is now representing an 11 by 17 piece of paper. It is exactly what we want to use. Okay, I'm going to select my viewport. Now this is how I've explained it before. Think of Paperspace as standing outside your house. Think of the viewport as a window. You can work in the garden, come up to the window right next to the kitchen sink. You can open up the window. You can reach in from the outside and you can turn the water on and you can wash your hands. That is the closest thing that I can think of to have Paperspace and model space kind of make sense. So I'm going to just grab a hold of my window. I'm going to left click on this grip and I'm going to make this a bigger. And right now it's just random. That's fine. You notice that this says door existing. That's the layer this viewport sits on. I'm going to change that. I want this to be different. I'm going to scroll down on my list. The layer for my viewport should actually be, it's a light pink layer, and it is G-VPRT, viewport. And what's so fancy about this layer? Well, if I look at my layers dialog, come over here to general so I don't have to scroll. You see how it's actually panning everything and it's having to draw every single element, every single item. This is one of the downsides when you don't have enough resources on your computer to run AutoCAD, especially in a virtual environment like I have right now. You can see it's going one bit at it. I mean, you can literally see every line in the table redrawing. It's frustrating to no end. Just show me my general layers. this shorter so I don't have to see it. And of course it's going to redraw everything. There we go. Okay, and here's my viewport layer right there. And you look over here to whether or not it's plottable. You see that universal no symbol right there. That means anything on the viewport layer I will see on the screen, but it will not print. That's why I did this. That's why I put my viewport on the viewport layer. That's why I set up a layer just for my viewports. I'm going to drag that over here so I can make this even smaller. The less stuff it has to redraw on the way across the screen, the better. And now go back to all my layers and take my mouse away so that my layer dialog will disappear. Hopefully, eventually. There we go. Okay, I'm back. So now what I want to do is I want to get the scale of this viewport to match the scale that we set up in Paperspsace. So right now I don't see an option to scale anything because I don't have anything selected that will let me do it. So right now I will double click with my mouse, my crosshairs inside this viewport window. So double click. There we go. And you see, as I move my crosshairs to the edge of the viewport, it will disappear until it actually becomes a mouse pointer. So that's, and you'll also notice that the viewport window itself got kind of fat. That's how you know that you're working, that you're looking, you're inside the viewport window in Paperspsace. So you're actually able to select and modify elements in Paperspsace through here. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to set its viewport scale, and that's this guy right here. Just like we did when we were first setting up the file and we said we wanted it 1/4 of an inch, so I'm going to highlight it, scroll down the list a little until I say 1/4 of an inch, and I will select 1/4 of an inch. And now we're at 1/4 of an inch. But you can tell I'm not really looking at the part of the plan that I need to. So I've got one of two options. I can either use my pan button, hold down that scroll wheel, and just pan around until I get where I want, and release the button. Or undo that pan command. If I double click outside my viewport, I can then actually modify the extents of this viewport. Come on. The viewport always wants to maintain, keep itself rectangular. So I can use my standard modify tools. Either way, it amounts to the same thing. Now, once I get this viewport scale and it's get the elements in it positioned properly, I want to lock this viewport. So I can either come, some of you may actually see this little thing. That's just another way to get to the scale. If you don't have it, that's fine. That's why there's an option down here. But you see where the scale is. I go 1, 2 icons to the left, and that's selected viewpoint. It says it's not locked. I want to lock this viewport. That means that when I double click on the inside of this viewport and I go to pan, that now everything pans with me. I want the viewport to be locked because this way when I zoom, I'm not changing its scale factor, I'm not changing the layout on the sheet, none of that stuff. It actually turns out to be really handy and really important. I'm going to double click on the outside of my viewport. Some of you, if you double click on the viewport, you'll get something that looks like this. Give it a second. There we go. Now you notice it's got a big blue border around the edge. That is this icon right here. That's the difference between clicking on the viewport and clicking in the viewport. And I double clicked it. I should have only single clicked it. It's not really a big deal. Okay. So I'm going to use my move command. And I'm just going to move him more or less into position. I know I'm going to have to fine tune it once I get the title block placed on here. Now, we've already called this file A101. I want to name this layout. I don't want it to be named layout number or layout 1. So I'm going to right click rename, turn my caps lock on because I want to. I want this to be all caps, and type in floor plan. Press return. And just to be on the safe side, I'm going to right click on layout 2 and I'm going to say delete. I'm not going to use another layout in this file. Basically, are you sure you want to do this? Yes, I'm sure I want to do this. Click OK. Okay, I'm going to save my file. Now I'm going to go back to the folder where I've got all my stuff saved, and here is my Titleblock file. Now I'm going to double click, I'm going to open my Titleblock file, I'm going to make a change to it. Some of you may see this. If you ever see this, use AutoCAD DWG Launcher and always use this app to open DWG files. Click OK. The DWG Launcher basically passes on the AutoCAD file to AutoCAD, but it's the official way to do it. It's just for whatever reason, it's just a little different. So I'm opening up my file. There we go. Now, if I look at this file, if I look at the layers in this file, I have a lot more layers in here than I really need. Because if I look at my layers, I've got door layers and floor layers and all, glazing and wall layers. This is just my title block. I don't need that much stuff in my title block. So I'm going to type PU with the command prompt, which is my purge command. That allows me to get rid of all the unused stuff in the drawing. And the basic settings, view items, I can purge. I do not want confirmation on every item. Just get rid of it and don't tell me about it. Purge nested items. That means if an unused item is inside another unused item, it'll get rid of that one too. Automatically purge orphaned data. Sometimes you'll have accidentally created a text object and the only thing in that text object is a space. It's kind of rare, but it does happen. So at this point I click purge all. Boom, I made a change. The button's gray, so I've purged everything out. There's nothing left to purge, so I'll click on close. So if I look at my layers property window now this file only has the 3 layers in it that it actually needs for the title block. That's all it needs. Some of you might have noticed that your UNT Eagle logo is not showing up. This is why you need to make sure that your logo always lives in the exact same folder as your title block, and they stay together. Because what AutoCAD does is it actually says, hey, Windows, tell me where this file lives, starting with C drive and every single folder name after that. So if you change where these files live, but you don't tell AutoCAD where the new location is, that can cause a problem. The easiest way to get around this issue is just make sure that they're saved to the same location, and then you don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to click Save. So save this file. I'm not going to close it just yet, but I will come back over here to A101. Okay, I'm going to change my current layer. My current layer is now going to be, scroll down some more, scroll down some more again. Come on. There we go. G-XREF. Okay, so that's my current layer. I'm going to open my Explorer window again. So here's my title block file. Now I'm going to hold down my right mouse key. My right mouse button. Hold it down and drag and drop onto my AutoCAD window for sheet A101 in the floor plan tab. So if you don't have those things active, oh yes, let me let go of this. I need to show you. Cancel. Dun, 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 dun. That was an accident. I don't know what that was. I just clicked on. Make sure when we do this operation that you're not in your model space. Make sure and double click out here. See how my crosshairs are actually able to pass over the viewport window. And if I try to select anything, I can't select anything because I'm in Paperspace. I can't select model space elements when I'm in Paperspace. This is on purpose. So make sure that we're here. Open my Explorer window, right click, drag, and drop your title block onto your AutoCAD window. Create XREF. Now when we did the drag and drop for the door, that put a copy of the door file to live inside this floor plan file. So you can use that door block again and again and again. A copy of it now lives in this AutoCAD file, but it's a copy. It's not the same door file. An XREF actually tells AutoCAD, hey, I want you to establish a live link. It's sort of like object linking and embedding if you've ever used OLE, or paste special if you've ever done that in to copy paste an Excel table into a Word document. So you change it in an Excel and then you open up the Word document and it's automatically modified. This is kind of the same thing and how AutoCAD does it. So as you guys may remember, we created our title block to be 22 inches by 34 inches. Well, that's twice the size of 11 by 17. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to scale, SC for scale. I'm going to scale my title block down. I don't care where my base point is, because I'm going to move it. So I'm just going to left click somewhere, and my scale factor is 0.5. Oh, that did a stretch. SC for scale. There we go. Select my title block, establish my base point, scale factor is 0.5. Boom. There we go. That's looking the way it needs to look. So now I'm going to use my move command, and I'm going to move him down to the corner. This is one of those times, unfortunately, where it's just, you're just going to eyeball it. I don't like doing it, but it is what it is. There is an arcane, and it is, believe me, it's arcane value to get to the bottom right corner or the bottom left corner of the page. 0, 0 is actually that dashed line. That's your printer margin. I think it's either a 1/16 of an inch or a 32nd of an inch. I think a 32nd, I'm not sure. So I can either eyeball my way to the corner and then a left click and I'm done. Or if you want to know that super arcane thing, it's open parentheses, GETVAR, space, double quote, LIMMIN, double quote, close parentheses, press return. That's actually, you can see it's got the value down here at the bottom, but that's actually the edge of the printer margin in Paperspace. I don't always like typing that stuff, which is usually why I'll just eyeball it. So if you're less than a 32nd of an inch, I'm not going to count points off of that. So zoom, Z for zoom, E for extents. There we go. Okay, you can see that my viewport is it's overlapping a little bit. I want to fine tune the placement of this just a hair. So I'm going to use my regular old move command. Come on. M for move. Select my viewport. I'll move it over just a hair. That gets my floor plan sort of where I want it positioned. I want to move it up a little bit now. So you can see all I'm selecting is the viewport. I'm not selecting anything else. Let's move that up. Okay, that looks pretty good. But I'm picky enough that I don't want to see the edge of the viewport. So I'm going to click on the viewport and just make it snap to that intersection. Oop, I missed it. Zoom in a little so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. There's a viewport. I come up to this corner here. Highlight that. Click there. Okay, so that looks about right. Yeah, that looks right. So I'm going to zoom in. And remember I told you about the magical text in the That looks like something might not be working. Oh, I've got the field wrong. I've got to fix that. Okay, this actually feeds right into what I wanted to show you next. So you can see under sheet title it actually says A101. That's because I goofed when I was creating this file, when I was creating my project title block. I don't have that field set up correctly, and obviously drawn by needs to be changed. Well, remember how I said that using an XREF is a live link to the other file. So I'm gonna save my current drawing, save A101, and my title block is still open, so I'm gonna select that. I'm gonna switch back over to my title block file, and I'm gonna zoom back down on that corner so I can edit this information. There we go. I'm gonna select that text, double click so I can edit it. There we go. I'm going to double click on my field so I can edit that. It'll let me. There it goes. There it goes. Okay. So I'm using the wrong field in that spot. So let's change that. Field category is not document, it's other. This one is a system variable. And I'm looking for the system variable called CTAB, C-T-A-B. I happen to know it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clicks down. CTAB. And I want it all uppercase. Click OK. Boom, there we go. Now I'm going to scroll down a little bit. There we go. And drawn by, I'm going to go ahead and change this. Select that. There we go. All right. I'm done making my edits. I'm going to zoom extents. I like doing a zoom extents every time I'm done with my edit, just so that when I look at the drawing preview in the drawing window, I can see what the whole file looks like and not just one little piece of it. Okay, Control S to save, and I'm going to close this file. Now I can either click on that little X right there, or I can come over here and I can click on, oh, come on. Yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about when you're using a virtual environment like Parallels and you don't quite have enough horsepower to pull off what you're trying to do. Okay, I can click on that X to close my current drawing, only the current drawing that I'm looking at right now, or this one. If I close this one, if I click on that X, it shuts all of AutoCAD down. I don't want to do that. So click close. Hey, do you want to save it? Yeah, sure, I'll go ahead and save it. It'll only take a second. Okay, I've saved it. And because I had this file open and this file is looking at that file I was just editing, I'm getting a notification. Hey, you made changes. Do you want me to show you those changes? Yeah, I do. So I'm going to reload that title block file, and you'll see the drawn by change, and you'll see the sheet title change, at least when it's done loading. There it is, right there. Zoom in a little bit more. All right, one more thing I get to show you, and then we are done, at least with this. Okay, I'm going to save this. Now remember when we set up what size sheet we're using? Remember when we said use this line weight table, use monochrome, make everything on the screen look black. Remember when I said use the layout, not the window or the extents, what scale are we, or what the plot scale is, what device we're using, all that stuff. The reason that we set it up then is so when it comes to now, when I actually want to print this to make a PDF, I can hold down Control on my keyboard and type P. That's a Windows standard shortcut. It's not an AutoCAD thing. So Control P to print, or that icon right there. So at this point, all these things, all these values here are set. They do not need to change. I will click OK. Now remember, I'm making a PDF, and the first thing that AutoCAD is going to ask me is, where do you want me to save it? Okay, so it's saving to my documents because this is the folder that I'm working in. I'm saving a PDF, but do you notice? File name, A101, which is the file name that I'm working with. Floor plan, That's the name of the layout that I have over here, A101 floor plan. So now the file that I'm creating, the PDF I'm creating in this plot command, automatically helps me find where this file is, what it's named, what layout I'm using. Click Save. And AutoCAD or Windows is being helpful. Maybe it's AutoCAD is being helpful, and it's automatically opening that PDF file. In this case, it's going to open it up in the browser. So here you go. There it is. Now things might look a little strange. I'm going to try and zoom in here. Man, there we go. So as I zoom in, some of these weird anomalies on how this PDF looks are going to try and straighten itself out. So you zoom out and things will get a little fuzzy. It'll look like lines are at a strange angle, or it'll look like things don't show up. That's fine. It's totally fine. I actually need to find a way to turn that off, as I do not like to see, I really do not like to see my PDFs right when they're made. Especially when I have to make several of them or several dozen of them. I want them all to be put together, and I'll look at them in one shot. So I'll back up a bit, and there's my PDF file right there. Sweet. Okay. There we go. Now, I suggest that you print out this floor plan file, take it into the lab, print it out 11 by 17, because for next class, for Tuesday, because today is Thursday. So for Tuesday, you should have a pretty good idea of what the design is that you're going to begin drawing, because that's what we're going to start doing on Tuesday, is we're going to take your design and start putting it in AutoCAD. So there you go. Existing conditions, made a PDF, got a page set up, all those things are set and ready to go. We will see you guys next class. Save it. Bye.